Chile here with Sirius Telus moon hour, moon day, moon hour, moon is separating from Ketu. And Ketu Maga Nakshatra. Like I said, we are purging the any type of veneration to ancestries and heritages, by the way, even if it's our own, that trafficked, ritually abused, energy siphoned, and the energy reading that I'm getting, particularly with this Saturn sextile Pluto, Venus is applying to ingress to Taurus and applying to the square with Pluto, reminding us that zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning is the basis, without which there is nothing. There is no business, there is no economy, there is no sovereignty, there's no governance, there's not even a weapon industry. And the long-term implications of violations of sexual boundaries. As these things begin to unfold, Neptune in the signs of Mars for the coming 15 years and then Venus for the next 15 years is going to thoroughly curate and dissolve, is going to thoroughly dissolve anything that is basically not actually sovereign, anything that's built on rape, energy siphoning, and slavery. Shout out to M. Spiracy. She had a very important video, and I don't agree with M. Spiracy about everything. I don't think that royal bloodlines are, how should I say that, are persecuted because of the ability to be wealthy regardless of the blood. The other way around, I think the only difference in if royal bloodlines are persecuted, it is because, and when she means royal bloodlines, she means bloodlines. She doesn't mean the current monarchies. But this is because there was rape, energy siphoning, and enslavement, and again, along the centuries or along the esoteric traditions, and that could have caused a complete Holocaust. I'm a grandchild of Holocaust survivor, and I can tell if my grandfather could not be left next to the children alone, then it tells that there was something like that in the lineage, and it took away all the lineage, all of Zudler family almost. And I can go and say, oh, this terrible thing happened to us in the Holocaust and anti-Semitism, or I can say, let's change the thing that changes everything. Abolish rape and slavery. Stop blaming the women for being raped. In the concentration camps, nobody wore anything. It doesn't matter what somebody wears. And build and curate the foundation upon which the lineage and ancestry were founded. And here is where M. Spiracy's video come into play. No, I do not get dividends for that. And she mentions the remembrance, the fact that we are not crops, we are not here to be harvested energetically. And the key is zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning, which also means zero torture. This is the key to well-being. This is the key to sovereignty. And the sovereignty is the key to connection, to union that is actually a union of sovereigns. No God, no tradition, no religion, no bloodline can sustain when it doesn't honor that. We can see it, the persecution of the Jews. We can see, and yes, because Jews believe in slavery, there is a lot of anti-Semitism. Because Jews do not abolish trafficking, there is a lot of anti-Semitism. I'm not going to sit there and talk when you say, oh, the big nose people. Forget about the nose. But I'm also not going to sit there hearing people talking about Jews without telling me what in their ancestry is also rapey, slavery-based, apartheid-based bloodline segregation. or energy siphoning. If you don't like these things about the Jews, abolish them within. This is how South Africa came out of apartheid. When it came to bloodline segregation and slavery themes, even though apartheid was from the British and from the Dutch. Now, during Neptune throughout Aries, there is no getting away with the implications of the rape slavery timelines until from the core these practices are dissolved. There's no way about it. And Neptune will cause losses, but it will also cause miraculous healing. When people get that, then they understand the spirit of the times. When people try to insist on something, now here's the thing. When they send, let's say, people to espionage people to see what's up with this person, and this person suffered, and they know that they are indebted to this person, not indebted necessarily monetarily, indebted because this person, let's say, escaped trafficking in an apartment and is afraid to rent a place, is afraid to even try to work, is still going through the targeting and the implication of the smear campaigns, whether over the name or whatnot. Until this is corrected, until that person is safe and free, but all the wrongs that were done to this person are corrected to the level of not having to do such things to people, whether for wealth, whether for energy, whether for anything. This will continue to haunt the perpetrators. And if they send somebody to speak with that person, and that person automatically will remember, wait a second, and they don't know who is this person. Oh, I saw you were living here and there. Yeah. Oh, you told me, I don't know, but things happening in the world. Yeah, well, I had to leave because of so and so and so. But when it's not about testing whether the person will speak, that person might have never, for example, if that tenant would be left alone, and all the wrongs corrected, not to persecute, not to try to film them or to make money from filming that were done without the consent, if that was completely abolished, and they would never do it again to anyone, then the residues would begin to dissolve. But for when they try to see if that tenant speaks, they try to test the tenant. Why? The tenant is not to blame. The tenant is not the rapist. The tenant is not the child molester. The tenant was not the one that sacrificed cats. Now, if they try to blame shift, it doesn't help. They are just embedding themselves in more and more and more entanglement with their own actions. And the attempt to try to make it look like when they try to haunt the person that was the victim in the situation, they get themselves more and more and more and more and more embedded in all kinds of things. And the more they try to push that away from them onto the people that were actually the victims, the more entangled up they get. And this is business, this is real estate, this is lineage business, this is intergenerational wealth, this is curses on the lineage. When I take a look at intergenerational things, do I think, oh, there is a curse on the lineage? For example, do I think there is a curse on the lineage from my grandfather's family and so on and so forth? No. What is hereditary? It's not the curses. Is that there was not practice of zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning within the lineage that died in the Holocaust. And then there was a recovery from that. And the environment is still not recovering from those things. Until the environment changes, this will continue to be an issue in all of our lives. It's not an intergenerational curse. It's the actions. What is a curse? It's the cause of the actions. Even when somebody's angry, And they say, oh, male lineage, da 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 da. What they actually mean? Male lineage never, ever, 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 ever do such things again. Now, trying to persecute people for being on a live and let live frequency is going to create masses of people, really masses of people, that begin to persecute the people that act in this way. For Jews, they're going to see it as anti-Semitism. For Christians, they're going to see it as anti-Christianity. For Islam, it's anti-Islam. For First Nations, people are going to confront them with the things. How did you train the shamans? Did you rape the shamans? Because all of the external behaviors are only result, we can only teach a child good behavior when the child is not raped, not energy siphoned, and not tortured. Without this, there's no basis. And I do predict that in this time, and I saw even colleagues astrologers are going to say other intergenerational curses. Yes, displaced content and so on and so forth. So let me clarify. If there were practices that were negating life, and they created, somebody killed himself in one property, somebody had to run in one property, and there was no change, then it would feel like the house is haunted. But if those practices are changing, and to the root cause are not repeated again, then it would feel like a curse has been removed from entire lineage. This is also when I was 3 years ago, I was saying, no longer will the teeth of the sons, or the teeth of the children, rot because of the sins of the father. Okay, what was the sin of the father? With this timeline, it's a biblical timeline now. The Bible is 99% rooted. Okay, because behind religion there is tax evasion, there is real estate, there is having to fund for a church. And sometimes, just in the most religious countries, it goes through the worst atrocities, and that affects the religion. This is how we hear things like cursing Adam for listening to Eve, making the life energy, the sexual energy, but it's also the life energy, punishing it, things that are unreasonable for something that is a creator of life, whether we are religious or not. And Neptune, Aries, ain't got no shame, ain't got no time about this. It could be the most sacred, profoundly sacred circumcision, genitalia mutilation, abuse of infants. To the Jews, it would be considered pagan. Ain't nobody got time for these costumes that are causing suffering and are used to harvest the energy from infanthood of the children. Now, of course, at the time of, let's say, Abraham turning to Abraham, there were people literally, ritually killing their infants. So a tiny bit of or whatnot was seeming advanced to its time. But we are not 2,000, 3,000 years ago. We know that when people are raped, when children are raped, it causes behavior that looks like neurodivergence. Oh, the child, why doesn't the child behave well? Maybe the child is attacked. Thank you, Conspiracy, for speaking about this. Use of no-touch weapons. Not just the spirits and stuff, but also that. the entire healing system, not allowing people to heal. People have to heal in spite of the healing system. And by the way, also the holistic one.
התחנה הבאה, תחנת רכבת, שדרות דוד בן-גוריון.
So there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be, oh my God, this lineage is lost, this culture is lost, this language. With Neptune rich in Gemini, it would be lost languages. Extinct language. But also there is revival and retrieval of the old customs. And this is where people have to be discerning. Cultures that have a marking of a girl turning a woman. What does this mark exactly? Oh, these are women, this can be raped at work.
התחנה הבאה, מרכז הספורט אוניברסיטת בן-גוריון.
Oh, this is already a pregnant woman. This is already married woman. And the women are expected to wed upon puberty. Marking off the face of the woman, for example, particularly facial markings with Aries. Marking of the face of the woman as she hits puberty is a trademark. So when we connect to our ancestry, to our lineage, we also need to question, what does this mean? Now again, if somebody feels nice, making traditional markings and they feel better and more connected, I'm not here to say to people how, not to do that. But I am talking about the fact that we do need to be, for that to be informed. It's important for that to be informed, particularly if it's a tattoo or something. Shout out to Angela Pucca. Angela Pucca had a discovery about the tradition of Italian signature, which basically means, I probably pronounced it wrong, pardon, but it basically means the traditional witchcraft, which was also healing, that was enmeshed with the Catholic tradition. And they discovered that there was a certain book that was not really historically accurate. And she said what to say to people that were trying to connect with their lineage, learning the signature practices, but find out that, hey, this is not exactly historically correct. Well, of course, I answered Angela Pucca that in terms of scientific paradigm, if there is not zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning in academia, then we cannot completely claim a truth, a scientific truth. And when I ask myself about the demarcation question of science, I cannot ignore the disposition that is required to have a valid scientific discovery or valid intelligence discovery or discerning in channeling. And this is zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning. Other than that, let's say that this is true, and this can be very true. Let's say this scientific discovery is absolutely valid. The practice, with Aries we have the rationality of the practice. Does the practice make sense? Or when we practice, sometimes it takes to actually practice something before we judge it. When we practice something, does it actually make sense? And this is where Dr. Angela Pucca says, well, your practice, if it does make sense, if it makes sense to you, then your practice is real, even if it's not, the tradition is not historically correct. Because we innovate with our practice all the time. Another facet of that is to understand what are we connecting with. Now, it's not always available to us. With Aries, the sense of self has to be supported by the practice. Also, when we think about the defense, I have second house Aries, ruler Mars in the ninth house, 22 Mars. Ruling over Saturn, ruling over Pluto, all of them retrograde. Very good for defense teachings. The economicity of defense. The way weapon trade is made with a scam, is uneconomic. One could say I have a privileged Mars to notice that because it's a Mars in Scorpio. And it's the last decan of Scorpio, tropically. When we think about defense, the disposition of conflict is to ignite what needs to be transmuted into love. I will make a separate video about this. There are in astrology the degrees that are to do with violence. I know from tropical perspective. There's also sidereal perspectives. But this is not something I'm educated in. And basically, when we think about defense, we think about transmuting from the core the reason for the conflict. So this resolved at the core, to the level that we can get it resolved at the core. I don't illude myself that the conflict is over, but it's not over. For example, let's take a zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning, the very basis. Some people don't even believe it's a basis. They think it's okay to rape at war. People that say it's okay to rape at war are fifth legion. People that think that it's okay to rape for intelligence are fifth legion. People that think that it's okay to rape shamans, to train shamans, are fifth legion to the clan. Now, I've already fundamentally challenged the core issues about even First Nations that they can't even say. Those that haven't even established that this is a basis will not even be able to layer up. It's like I will try to computate numerically, I don't know, the most complicated numeric equations without knowing that 1 plus 1 equals 2. I'm not going to argue about the zero. Arguing about the zero is the invention of a zero is probably something that an entire life can be spent to dedicate to meditating about the different perspectives and philosophies and practices and scams and truths around zero. But when I talk about these fundamentals, okay, for this to be, when we have the fundamentals, the land is breathing enough weeds, the air is clear, the water is clear. Now let's say we see somebody, let's say there is a table, and somebody takes from this, from this, from this, from this, from this, they take one from each. They say, okay, this person loves to enjoy life, what it has to offer, and they take another, and they hide it, but they take another, and they hide it, but they take another. Why are they hoarding? It's not gluttony. What is missing inside? When the closest example for me is Christianity, so pardon me Christians, I don't mean yes, but when a priest rapes a child and then serves bread to the child, and the child is still hungry, or the child can't eat, it is not lack of gratitude for the bread when the child can't eat, and it is not gluttony when the child, no matter how much they eat, is not enough, because the absorption of vitamins and minerals in the body is malfunctioning when we don't honor the sacred within. Now here's the complicated thing. Rapists are not born.
תחנת דלק, הפחם איתנו.
People talk about now, both when it comes to recovery, for both a person to recover from being a victim and a person to recover from being a perpetrator, we cannot gaslight ourselves and we cannot skip, let's say, for them to have housing, for them to have enough food, for them to have the assistance, whether it is in cooking or until they go back to themselves, for them to have the crops that are naturally growing. And of course, for these things to not be continuously done. Usually what is happening, if people were raped, that people don't stop to attack them, and then they say, oh, this person is serially complaining. No, the society is serially raping. But this is also the complaints we will have about the offender as they come to recover from being an offender. If this society is still rapey and the people will re-traumatize and recreate the conditions that created the offender, then we will say, oh, these people cannot recover from being criminals. And so we see that gaslighting and not acknowledging or silencing for the fundamentals. People say, oh, we're so sorry for this person is victim, yes, they need to heal. Amazing. Why don't they work? Let's wonder together. Why are they afraid to live here? Perhaps because these things are still happening. And when we think about an offense as a private case, we have lost trace with society. Scientifically, if I see an anomaly, Gödel theorem tells me that the thing that stands outside of the group is basically telling me about the group. Now I'm, of course, refining that, because it's not that it defines the group, but it definitely tells me about the group. It tells me that deep-rooted things in that community, society, clan, tribe, nation, empire, that this private case is the anomaly, and the anomaly is usually because it happens prevalently, and we have begun to develop the mutation in people where there is neurodivergence, that they can no longer not speak the truth. And then we tag them as the crazy, the neurodivergent. We say all kinds of nice words, give them all kinds of neurotoxins that we call medicine, and try to suppress. It is a human factor. For example, I have mold in my wisdom teeth. Something that I have been tending to since COVID. I saw that they hacked the nervous system of a doctor and made him aggressive towards me. So I did not go to dentist. There was nobody to talk about this. So I try to do what I can, and then I say, well, I just put it aside. Of course, later I see medical negligence, medical this, medical that, but I do not have trust in the court system. And my issue is not to hunt a person. but to actually have a good, effective tea treatment that doesn't put me at risk. What does it tell about my country that I don't have access? Now, many people can be going to dentistry, not even notice. Oh, I put fluoride in your teeth. It's neurotoxin. Particularly the people that work by the way of trying to make a person's life miserable because they did not comply with their rape, slavery, and energy siphoning. They are persecuted. And they die by lineages.